I feel like the theme of 2025 has been, do you have or can you avoid the 40-point fantasy performers, man? I mean, if you played against Jonathan Taylor on a Sunday morning, probably, you might as well have just gone outside, touch grass, have a good day, go to Home Depot with your girlfriend. Let's talk about the good, the bad, the injured, guys. We'll talk about who popped off, whether it's going to continue. We'll talk about some of the bad as well. Maybe give a little bit more context around why these guys didn't perform well. We're going to start with the Vegas-Denver game. This is an ugly one, guys. This is a defensive game. Somehow the Raiders defense shows up. Geno Smith was butt cheeks. Bo Nix was kind of butt cheeks as well. I saw a tweet which was like, Bo Nix has 2 paths before every game or every drive. It's like, am I going to be Josh Allen today or am I going to be fucking Josh Rosen, right? So this game was just tough. It was a defensive game. Dobbins, Harvey both busted. That was tough. We thought it was a much better matchup. A lot of people were ranking them really high. We thought both would be usable, maybe positive game script, but 7-10. Not really much there. The one that I want to focus on here is Trey Tucker and Courtland Sutton. So Trey Tucker steps into the wide receiver 1 role, at least we thought he would be, and he goes 2 for 3, 28 yards. Unfortunately, he did have a touchdown called back. I don't know if you guys watched the game. Hopefully, you guys are still awake for it. It was tough to stay awake, but 2 for 3 for 28, doesn't get the touchdown, gets called back. That's brutal. Then we got Courtland Sutton, 3 for 4 for 24. It just wasn't his game, dude. At the end of the day, teams like to double cover him. They like to throw a safety over the top. They know he's like their main guy. And Troy Franklin, dude, he's just been pretty decent most of the season, right? When we look at the game log, dude, I mean, 9, back-to-back-to-back games where he's pretty usable, dude. 10 targets, 8 targets, 10, then 9. He's essentially an every week wide receiver 2 at this point, which is really bad for Sutton, right? Because you have a guy who's younger, who's emerged, and he had rapport with Bo Nix as well in college, right? They're both from Oregon. Tight ends, Evan Ingram is officially droppable. Brock Bowers essentially used all his mana last game. He scored 40 fantasy points, 3 touchdowns, and in this one, tough matchup. We weren't expecting a repeat. And, Michael Mayer, a tiny bit of a thorn in his side, gets 4 targets to Brock Bowers' 3. We'll try to move through the games that are boring. We'll try to go through them a little bit quicker. So, this was the Jonathan Taylor game, guys. 48 fantasy points, 3 touchdowns. He was gashing them all game, and you just knew that he was going to bust off a big run at some point. I want to list a stat for you guys, man. He has 3 touchdowns in 50% of his games in 2025. And on the other side, we got Bijan Robinson, who gets 2 goal line touchdowns taken from him from Allgeier. It was a situation I was watching this game where Allgeier was running hot, gets them into the red zone, to the goal line, and they just stay stuck with him, dude. Because he was, they wanted to reward him. He was doing well. He was running well. Bijan Robinson was also running well the whole game, but it just happened to be Allgeier in the red zone. It just sucks if you have him, not for me because I was playing against him, so I was very happy to see Tyler Allgeier's name get called every time. Then Michael Penix, he is a penis. He is not very good at he's not very good at football. He just can't support multiple options because we see that Drake London kind of eats, 6 out of 8 for 104, a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. No one else does shit. And then on the other side, we got the wide receivers. Listen, fuck Josh. You know what? No, not fuck Josh Downs. Fuck Daniel Dimes, dude. Daniel Jones. He's not Danny Dimes. He's not Indiana Jones. He is Daniel today. He missed Downs so many times. I started Downs, so I'm biased, guys, but Josh Downs was wide open so many times, and he just missed him. Michael Pittman was getting shadow covered, so that's why he didn't perform well. This was the Alec Pierce game. He was getting targeted early, often, and in very opportune places on the field, if that makes sense. So very valuable places on the field. And he's getting like the deep field stuff, the intermediate routes. He is somebody that I think we can just start every week. Tyler Warren was great. He had made some fantastic catches. He's great after the catch, but I think he's overhyped. He is essentially like a possession tight end. He's not a big play guy. He's not going to get, high touchdowns, obviously. He's just been like good. He's consistently good. He's not ruining your fantasy lineups. Tyler Warren has been replaceable. If you've been streaming tight ends kind of working the waiver wire, you can probably match each week's production with somebody from the waiver wire. That's the problem with a guy like Tyler Warren. Now, obviously, you want Tyler Warren on your team because then you don't have to do that, right? You don't have to try to guess or try to, look at the matchups. You could just start him every week. You're going to get about 8 fantasy points with the potential for a touchdown. Maybe he gets 15 or so. And he does have a pretty nice touchdown equity. He does get targeted in the red zone. This game, I don't even want to talk about it very much. Bryce Young was bad. Shuck was actually good, right? He actually looked pretty decent. Obviously, they win the game. Kamara actually popped up, dude. 22 carries for 83 yards. This was actually, 25 total touches. I actually thought this is going to be Devon Neal slowly taking over because it was not great for Kamara last game and kind of the vibes, what the coaching staff was saying. I don't know. I thought there was a chance. Chuba Hubbard is essentially a handcuff at this point. So is Neal. Tedero McMillan, we're going to be having him on trade 4 videos in the entire season. And then in week 17, he's finally going to hit for a big game. We're going to be like, see, I fucking told you. At the end of the day, if Bryce is going to be this bad and only score, 3 fantasy points, no one else is going to be usable on this team. Tight ends for the Carolina Panthers are never usable. It's essentially Rico's world. We're all just living in it, right? And then Juwan Johnson makes a massive play early in the game and then makes another big play where he breaks a tackle, gets into the end zone. So he was great. Now we got Giants Chicago. Now, I thought the Giants were going to win this game. As soon as Dart went out, I knew they were cooked and he was over. Jackson Dart had like 26 fantasy points like early in the third quarter. Then he gets the concussion, gets knocked out. That shit sucked, man. I have him, as you guys can see here. He's highlighted. I had him and Singletary. He was great. Caleb Williams was really bad up until about like the middle of the third quarter when Dart went out. And then Caleb Williams mounted the comeback. They win the game. Caleb Williams, this is probably one of the best games for him on tape. He was making some fucking crazy ass throws, man. DJ Moore drops probably the play of the season if DJ Moore catches that, like when he rolls out to the right, flings it across, like while he's moving, flings it to the back of the end zone. It was like a 40-yard pass. DJ Moore tries to body catch it, doesn't catch it. You know, he probably would have been out of bounds even if he did catch it. That would have been the play of the season, man. The running backs here, we see basically both teams have a duo going on. Swift is the main guy getting more touches, but Monunga is stealing goal line, stealing a little bit of work. Same thing with Singletary and Tracy. Singletary outscores him, but Tracy got more touches and he was getting more goal line as well. He was in the red zone a little bit more. Devin Singletary was there in the red zone, and he did get a goal line touch. I think it was the first drive that Russell Wilson was in the game. And Singletary, you know, he could have had like a 15-point game, and he would be like a top waiver wire pickup. Wide receivers, Slayton was making plays early, and then it just tapered off as they were winning the game. They started to run the ball more. Odunze, actually, you know, he was targeted early and often. He was looking good. He was getting open. Really saves his day, though, at the end of the game with the touchdown, right? He was just wide open in the end zone. We would have been a little bit disappointed again with Rome Odunze. Now, this was the matchup, bro. The Giants play so much man coverage. Like, we're really happy he got home with 17 fantasy points because otherwise he would have ended the game with about 8 or 9 fantasy points yet again. We'd be feeling real bad, right? We'd be feeling scared about starting him moving forward. I do want to make a note that DJ Moore did get banged up. He came back into the game in the second half for like one pass block rep. So everyone who put money on this man, they didn't get their tickets voided because he ended up playing. That shit is sus. I don't want to talk about Theo Johnson, guys. 7 of 8 for 75 yards. He's always good for a touchdown, or you know, every other game maybe he gets into the end zone. He's a big red zone threat. He's a big-bodied guy. I love the work, man. I love 8 targets for 75 yards. That's about like 10 yards per catch. We love it, dude. But I like Theo Johnson moving forward in games that Dart starts, obviously. Loveland comes back to earth, you know, 4 for 55, but that doesn't really matter too much. I mean, you're not really relying on Loveland. We're just hoping he can be more and more involved as the season goes on. Jacksonville, Houston, holy shit, what a comeback. I think Jacksonville's up like 29-6 at one point or 29-10 at one point. Trevor Lawrence's butt cheeks, dude. Let's just be honest. Travis Etienne, main guy. Newton, at this point, we can't really keep talking about him, dude. We know what he's capable of. We know the skill. We know the speed. But he's just playing complete second fiddle. Travis Etienne actually looks pretty good. He's essentially just going to need an injury. And that's the same thing, you know, on the other side, we got Davis Mills. Obviously, in a comeback situation, scores a shit ton of fantasy points. They end up winning the game. Woody Marks has taken over the backfield. Nick Chubb is a handcuff at this point. Nico Collins, dude, fuck yeah. 15 targets, man. That's what we like to see. 7 for 136. A little bit fluky. Like before the first half ended, he gets like a 57-yard catch where it really kind of gave him that little bit of boost that he needed, right? Because it was kind of garbage time. They were really playing like deep doubles, you know, triple safety. And he gets this 57-yard bomb. And then the half just ended, right? It didn't actually lead to anything. But we love it. We love the targets. We love the usage. Now, what made Nico Collins so good last season, the reason he was like a top 5 guy for me this season was target share and red zone equity. Like we thought he was going to get more touchdowns than he's getting, right? He's just not hitting the touchdown numbers, man. He has 3 touchdowns on the season, but he did get a lot of red zone targets in this game. I want to see the actual numbers once the data is out. Parker Washington catches an amazing touchdown early, gets a special teams, I think it was a punt return or a kickoff return touchdown. But outside of that, not very involved, right? Jacoby Myers looked good on paper, not very involved. I think he could have had a breakaway touchdown, but he loses his balance and goes out of bounds. Dalton Schultz, dude, the doctor, 7 for 11 for 53 and a touchdown. Great. Another good streaming option with a really good matchup. It was, you know, we target the matchups when we're streaming tight ends, and it was a green matchup for Houston. And I was a little bit worried about Davis Mills, but we do know that he likes throwing to Dalton Schultz as his like check down. So great game. Hopefully you guys start him. Hopefully you had the confidence to start him. Buffalo, Miami. Holy shit, dude. Mike McDaniel saved his job. I mean, his job was already kind of secure. Tagovailoa, obviously he's unusable most games. Josh Allen, 20 fantasy points feels like very generous. Feels like a gift. He really shouldn't have. He was really bad most of the game, man. Just like no one was really showing up for him. Kincaid went out early, so maybe that really fucked up their game plan, their passing game. And he's just kind of starving for passing options at the moment, man. Like Khalil Shakir's great, but he's a yards after the catch, close to the line of scrimmage guy. Keon Coleman made one play in this game, and no one else was really just helping out, dude. It was mostly trash garbage time for the Bills, and that's probably how Josh Allen gets to 20 fantasy points. But Devon Achane was the story, man. He's absolutely phenomenal. He had 2 breakaway touchdowns, and he was involved as a receiver like he always is. This was a classic, not classic, but this was like the Devon Achane game that we know he's capable of, right? Like I remember his very first game when he appeared onto the scene. He had like 55 fantasy points, right? And that was one of those games where just they were gashing the I think it was the Broncos in that season where it was like 60-15 was the final score. And then wide receivers, I already mentioned kind of Shakir. He's just like a PPR scam. He'll get you like 12, 13 fantasy points a game. He just doesn't get enough touchdowns, right? He has 3 touchdowns on the season. And we're really hoping that they use him a little bit more in the red zone, man. Jaylen Waddle, fantastic. He's just somebody who's a wide receiver 1 at this point, rest of the season. As long as Tyreek Hill is not in the lineup, Jaylen Waddle slots right into that wide receiver 1 role. Doesn't have like the 30-point potential, I would say, just because of the state of the offense. How Devon Achane is like their number 1 offensive weapon. But Jaylen Waddle, dude, continues to just be great down the field, man. He's one of the better downfield threats. Baltimore, Minnesota. This was just a difficult game. It was a slugfest, man. It was a difficult game to watch. Both teams just back and forth, a defensive game. Lamar Jackson is being used in like manufactured rushes, right? Like this man cannot fight the allegations that he's a running back. They were using him as a running back in this game. Just kind of everybody struggled, right? Zay Flowers made some really good plays, some really nice plays after the catch. Derrick Henry might be washed. I don't know. He might be. This was a good matchup for Aaron Jones, who really capitalized early in the game, gets the touchdown early. Doesn't do too much the rest of the game. Jordan Mason is just a handcuff at this point. I will say this, man. Derrick Henry might be washed. He just doesn't look like the same Henry. He looks a lot slower than he used to be. He's still breaking tackles, still stiff arming people. But if he would have got that touchdown that Justice Hill got, that was in hurry up offense, right? Justice Hill was on the field already, so they just ran it in with him from the 1-yard line. So that explains it, right? If you give that touchdown to Henry, he has a fine game. He has except 17 fantasy points or so, or 16. Wide receivers for the Ravens, they're never really the story, right? We're never really talking about them. Jalen Naylor steals the show. Justin Jefferson, guys, what the hell is going on? 12 targets, only 4 for 37. I would probably guess, man, if I had to, 5 or 6 of those targets were just uncatchable. JJ McCarthy is fucking cat shit, dude. The guy cannot pass the ball. 20 out of 42 completions, man. Listen, man, he stinks. He just stinks, dude. I don't know if it's the injury. I don't know if he forgot how to throw the ball. He looks good one day or looks decent, like usable enough. And then the next game, he just looks absolutely like he doesn't know what he's doing out there. And because of that, man, you're just not confident, right? Like Jalen Naylor was the guy who made the big plays, gets like the deep bomb touchdown, also has another deep bomb, which he runs. Addison, tough game, man, 11 targets, but again, so many of them uncatchable. Our next game, we got Cleveland Jets. Holy shit, what a difficult game to watch. Justin Fields, in a bad matchup, Justin Fields is the worst quarterback I've probably ever seen play football. 54 passing yards, guys, and that's where 42 of them came on that Breece Hall reception for the touchdown. So imagine if Breece Hall didn't get that, he'd have like fucking -3 passing yards. He is so bad, dude. I can probably make a separate video. I'll make a fucking I'll make an Instagram reel on how bad Justin Fields is, dude. Dylan Gabriel, decent fantasy day, I suppose. He gets some touchdowns. He actually had some runs, but for the most part, he was also catch shit. He was throwing balls into the dirt, into the pitch. Dude, I don't understand Dylan Gabriel. I don't understand why he's a starter. I've never thought he's never really looked good. The touchdown pass that he had to somebody we're going to talk about, Jerry Jeudy, was literally like a punt. He like fair caught it in the end zone, dude. It was hanging in the air for like 27 seconds. That shit was just crazy, man. Quinshon Judkins, they don't get to the goal line, so he doesn't get a touchdown. That's essentially what it is. He didn't break off a big run. The Jets trade away their best interior defensive lineman, yet they looked better stopping the run. I didn't understand it. Maybe the Browns are just that bad. I actually think, my theory, I need to look up the data on this. I think the Jets were just stuffing the box. They knew that Dylan Gabriel was, just as cat shit as Justin Fields. It was just a battle of cat shit in this game, dude. This was a brutal game to watch. Judkins, moving forward, I'm worried, right? I'm worried that game script is always going to be a thing that he's like Derrick Henry, but on a worse offense, right? When they're losing, they take him out of the game. They put in Dylan Sampson, who was bad. They put in Jerome Ford, who was bad. Just keep Judkins on the damn field, man. Like, he's a good football player, dude. He can create. Pass him the ball, right? Make him a pass catching back. I don't know. Fucking bullshit. Jerry Jeudy, guys. I said in the last video on Friday, the stash video that I make every Friday, I fucking hit, dude. I'm not going to victory lap too hard. I hit on so many names in that video, dude. I hit on Jerry Jeudy. I said, if he's on the waiver wire, pick him up. The Stefanski passed play calling to the offensive coordinator. Second year in a row that he's done that, actually. Coming out of the bye, new play caller. I think Jerry Jeudy's going to be relevant. I think he's going to be a highly targeted player, and he was, dude. 12 targets, 6 for 78 and a touchdown. Obviously gets the punt touchdown where it was up in the air for 28 seconds. So that really helped his day, right? That's like, what, 10 fantasy points right there. I think it was like a 30-yard pass. So don't get me wrong, it's not going to look pretty, but if we're chasing volume, like, for example, I started bitch-ass Josh Downs. I would have loved to start Jeudy. I was actually debating putting Jeudy in over him, but the reason I didn't is because I was already starting Njoku and Judkins. I didn't want to start a third Brown, right? My lineup would have looked way too brown and poopy if I put in Jeudy. So on the other side of the ball, Garrett Wilson didn't do anything. He only gets 3 targets, and then I don't have any evidence for this, but I think he probably injured his own knee on the sideline. He's like, dude, get me out of this game. I don't want to be in this game anymore. Mason Taylor, hopefully you didn't stream him. It was a very difficult matchup, even though he was very, involved before the bye week, and that was with Fields. And now you add Wilson, maybe a better passing offense. They took like 26 steps back. This passing offense is atrocious. We're not going to talk about this too much. Njoku, I started him. He saved me with an early touchdown. Doesn't really do much after that. And then we got New England, Tampa Bay. This was like one of the games of the week for a lot of people. Drake May looked good for the most part, but it was a tough matchup. It was a tough defense. They showed up in this one. Baker Mayfield was pretty decent, right? He gets, touchdown to Buka, I believe 2 to Tez Johnson as well. They were playing from behind. It was a tough game for them, a very difficult matchup for the Bucks. We knew the running backs wouldn't perform in this game. The New England Patriots are like the #1 defense in the league. I'm actually, props to Mayfield for dropping 23 points on the Patriots, man. They're a very difficult defense to contend with. And this is the Trevion Henderson game, man, right? Like, it had to be. Fucking 66 running backs that are ahead of him on this depth chart got injured. So Vrabel was like, fuck, I guess we'll give the ball to the stud, right? And he breaks off 2 long touchdowns. He was actually decent. Both of his touchdowns came between the tackles, which is something that we've always been saying. Trevion Henderson is not very good between the tackles. He's more of an outside runner, but he was great, man. There on his second touchdown, he even like slows down, looks over at the sideline, like angles toward them, and is like, should I score this? It's crazy, dude. Crazy presence of mind, right? Buka was great in this game, 6 for 115 and a touchdown. I saw a stat that he had like 103% of the air yards for the Buccaneers. Kyle Williams shows off the speed, dude. Only gets 2 targets. I don't get it, but he breaks off one of them for a 72-yard touchdown. He hits like 22 miles per hour, and then he gets one-upped by Trevion later in the game, who hits like 23 miles per hour. So these are 2 burners, man. We got Henderson and Kyle Williams, 2 rookies that are absolute burners. I hope they get more run. Kyle Williams was another one of those guys I said to pick up as a stash because, with Butte out, I think he'll have a chance to prove himself. I think he proved himself when it comes to big play potential, but not somebody who deserves like a lot of volume, obviously. I guess they wanted to give the volume to Mac fucking Hollins, who goes 6 for 10 for 106. Diggs doing Diggs thing, playing the underneath stuff, 5 for 8 for 46 and a touchdown. Hunter Henry just takes a back seat in this one. He had like 1 screen pass for a nice little chunk gain. Other than that, uninvolved. Cade Otton, as long as Mike Evans is not playing, Chris Godwin is out, Cade Otton is an every week starter, guys. Let's look at the game log. 12 targets, 5, 9, 6. He's usable, guys. They go to him early. They go to him often. He's pretty decent after the catch. Even though, he doesn't quite look like a football player. He doesn't really have the name of a football player. He is an absolute football player. We're almost done, guys. We're moving through this. Hopefully you guys are still here. Sam Darnold, Arizona, Seattle, takes a backseat to the defense in this one. He didn't have to do much. Throws a touchdown pass to JSN early. After that, the defense scores a touchdown. Charbonnet, Vultures a touchdown. Greg Holani, dude. Is his name even Greg? George Holani steals a touchdown from Charbonnet, who usually steals touchdowns from Kenneth Walker. So this was a game where Kenneth Walker looked the best. Honestly, he made like the nicest plays. But yet again, Charbonnet, dude, just outplays him, gets the touchdown. It's like nightmare fuel, dude. If you're a Kenneth Walker fan and you're sitting there watching Red Zone and all of a sudden you hear the announcer, Zach Charbonnet in at running back, it's just like, fuck me, dude. Like, yep, here comes again another vulture. Kobe Brissett had like negative fantasy points after 1 quarter, then ends with 19 because he's playing from behind. DeMercado was the most usable and looked the best. Let's be honest, man. He had like a big chunk gain early on, like a reception for like 37 yards, looked really good. Bam Knight also gets injured. We'll talk about that a little later in the injury section. DeMercado's probably the guy that you want to start until Trey Benson comes back. Marvin Harrison, guys, 3 for 12. Holy shit. Gets a touchdown late, gets a 2-point conversion, salvages the day. Otherwise, dude, this was a brutal game if you had Marvin Harrison. Jackson Smith and Jigba gets 17 fantasy points in like the first 4 minutes of the game, and then he gets ruled out with a concussion, I believe. I'm not sure if he came back into the game. I'm going to be quite honest with you guys. I stopped watching that game. Let me know down in the comments if you guys know if he came back in or if they just held him out. He rewarded fantasy owners. Shaheed doesn't really do much in his very first game. Didn't really have to. Cooper Kupp probably should have scored a deep bomb touchdown, but gets caught from behind. And then Trey McBride, dude, every week starter. None of the tight ends had to do anything. But Trey McBride is absolutely, it's like having a wide receiver 1 at your tight end position as long as Brissett is in the game, dude. It's an absolute cheat code. Ever since Brissett came in I think week 6, Trey McBride has been like a top 4 fantasy option, like in all of football, not just tight ends. So let's just keep rolling, man. Hopefully it's Brissett, and he's going to keep looking Trey McBride's way. Trey McBride also had like a shovel pass, like one of those little trick plays in the red zone where it was a touchdown that was called back due to I believe, a hold or like a illegal formation or something, or illegal man downfield or something. So imagine, dude, he would have had 2 touchdowns. He would have had a Brock Bowers type day. Let's speed this up, man. Nobody watches these videos past like 5 minutes anyway. Matt Stafford was him. 26 fantasy points, 4 touchdowns, made very few mistakes. He was running, gunning. Matt Jones playing from behind, also very usable. Also had himself a pretty nice game. 3 touchdowns, only throws 1 pick. This was a tough matchup. I had Christian McCaffrey outside of my top 3. Yeah, I know, fucking hella brave of me, but a very tough matchup. We saw it only 12 for 30 on the ground. He's just unfair, dude. He's unfair. He gets 10 targets, 8 for 66. He's not even good with the targets, let's be honest. 8 receptions for 66 yards. Is that supposed to be impressive? I don't know, man. Like, give any running back 10 targets. Can they get to 60 yards? Like, I don't know, man. Christian McCaffrey, I love him. He's one of my favorite players of all time, but he's a little bit overhyped. But he's a little bit overrated. I'm sorry. Just on a per touch basis, he's like well beneath 1 fantasy point per touch at this point in the season. I think he had like 1 game where he had like 35 fantasy points on like also 30 touches. But I don't know. He's just like really underperforming his expected fantasy points rate, his volume. But nevertheless, you're going to start him every week. It's just a tough matchup. Kyron Williams, still stuck in a split with Corum, but he's getting most of the valuable stuff. He gets the goal line. He gets 2 touchdowns in this one. Devontae Adams continues to just get red zone target after red zone target after red zone target. Puka Nacua, he gets the crumbs that are left over from Matt Stafford, and he breaks off like four tackles for a touchdown, right, on like a screen pass. So Puka Nacua is going to be great. You know, this was a down game for Puka with 14 fantasy points, honestly, but he wasn't really needed too much, right? They had a big lead most of the game, so I was really hoping for a tighter game where Puka would be more involved, because the Rams seem like every game their game plan is, let's try to get every single player that exists on this roster a touchdown. Colby Parkinson, you get a touchdown. Davis Allen, you get a touchdown. Tyler Higbee, we'll try to get you a touchdown. Kyron, Devontae, Puka, shit, Corum even got some goal line work. I wish there was more funneling of the targets and of the touchdowns. That's my one concern. If you have Puka moving forward, rest of season, it's very difficult. He's probably an untradeable player, but I would consider trading super high if you can. If you can get like a CD Lamb plus a piece, or a JSN plus a piece or something, or even straight up JSN, I would consider it, man, because JSN doesn't have to compete with, you know, every single homeless person in the Los Angeles metropolitan region, and, you know, every tight end for touchdowns. Devontae Adams has like 14 red zone targets. I know I'm ranting at this point, but, you know, if you guys can get like a JSN who doesn't really have to compete with anyone for touchdowns. Detroit mollywop the Commanders. They really had no chance in this one. Chris Rodriguez was named the captain, so he gets the early touchdown over Krosky Merritt, who does get 11 carries. This is just a split backfield, man. It's just a committee at this point. But obviously, we got to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, guys. 36 fantasy points. This is what Gibbs is also capable of. He's kind of like Devon Achane. He'll have his down games where he's not really being used as he should be getting used, or in bad matchups. But in good matchups, Jahmyr Gibbs is an absolute bully. And then he gets the 3 touchdowns on top of him, man. You probably won your matchup if you have him. Jared Goff was very usable in this game. He was slinging it all game. Amon-Ra St. Brown was the guy early. Jameson Williams was the guy late. Jameson Williams gets 20 fantasy points. So this is Jameson, man. This is Jameson in good matchups against bad defenses. And coming out of the bye, they did say that they want to get him more involved, that they feel bad about his usage, that they haven't been using him very much. And 14 and 20 fantasy points in back-to-back games, man, we love it. Amon-Ra St. Brown obviously wasn't just needed the rest of the game after his like explosion in the first quarter. Sam Laporta, a little bit of a down game, but you're not too mad at 7 fantasy points. Oh, we're so close, guys. We're almost done. Aaron Rodgers in this Pittsburgh Chargers game was bad. This is a bad matchup. Next week, he actually has a really good matchup. I'm probably going to have to start him because I have Jackson Dart. But this game was essentially Kamani Vidal and Ladd McConkey absolutely dominating. Jaylen Warren looked good on the touches he had, but Kamani Vidal looked really good on the touches he had, man. He was busting off chunk plays. Like, it looked like every run he had, or a lot of them, would go for like 10 yards or 1, right? He was either getting stuffed or he was busting off like a 10-yard run. Then he gets the late touchdown, I believe in the third and end of the third or fourth quarter. McConkey also gets a touchdown, I believe in the second half. He had also a big catch and run earlier in the game. Keenan Allen is cooked. Only 5 catches. He's out of mana as well. He has no mana. He's old. We knew he was going to taper off and that the younger guys would start to take over. I hope you guys traded for Ladd McConkey early when it was looking bad, man. When after week 4, he was a massive trade for candidate for me, and since then he's been essentially a wide receiver 1. He's not wide receiver 12 on the season. Metcalf could have had a bigger game, man. He had a touchdown overthrow, it was a deep bomb from Aaron Rodgers in the first quarter. Overthrows him just slightly. Would have been a deep, like 60-yard touchdown, I believe. And then he gets another red zone target later where he tries to catch it with one hand and pin it, and he just doesn't. So it's a tough game, man. In garbage time, I was thinking, oh, maybe he can salvage it here. Maybe gets like a late touchdown with like 4 minutes left. Doesn't, and goes to Roman Wilson, who gets a nice little catch and run. Gadsden does get injured, guys. Let's talk about some of the injuries real quick, man. We got Jackson Dart, man. He gets a concussion. I'm really praying that he can be healthy for Sunday, but it's about a 50-50 chance so far this season. About 50% of the players with concussions do play in the next week. But you just never know. Everybody responds differently. I'm really hoping. The Giants are 2-8, so I don't think they have a considerable rush with Jackson Dart. Devontae Adams tweaks his back late in the game. They said he could have came back in the game if it was closer, but he ends up not. Garrett Wilson, as I mentioned, he probably took a hammer to his own knee. I think he re-injures the knee, though, in all seriousness. Dalton Kincaid tweaks his hamstring. We need to keep an ear for how bad it is and whether it's going to keep him out. If it does, Dawson Knox then becomes an interesting streamer in good matchups. We need to check the matchups moving forward. Rashad Bateman ankle, that's not very consequential. Chris Rodriguez gets a shoulder injury. I guess that's why he didn't play, and that's why Krosky Merritt got more touches. I probably should have known that when I was talking about the game. Nevertheless, it looks like he's got a little bit of a stinger of a shoulder injury. Let's see what it is. Cam Knight hurts his ankle. That's probably what leads to the DeMercado domination of the touches. But DeMercado was better either way. I just think he's the guy that we trust more. He gets receiving work. Bam Knight, he's really just a goal line back at this point, short yardage back. And then Terrell Jennings, Mr. 5-minute back himself, does injure his knee early in the game. That's why Trevion Henderson really just got everything after that. And even with the Jennings injury, that shit was funny, dude. Vrabel was still trying to give touches to guys I've never even heard of. But those are some of the consequential ones. I'm sure I missed a couple. Let me know down in the YouTube comments if you guys caught any of the other injuries. Just help your boy out a little bit. I really appreciate it. That does it for the video, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I genuinely appreciate you guys giving me your time watching this video, especially if you watched it all the way through. Really helps the algorithm. The YouTube algorithm will only push videos when you watch a lot of it, when you comment, when you like, when there's engagement, all that kind of stuff. So if you do like the video, like it. I really do appreciate it. Subscribe if you want to catch more of this moving forward. Discord link down below, guys. We're talking about every day. Sharp community of people. They're helping us. We're helping each other out with sit starts, trade advice, waiver wire pickups. Super dope community. One of my favorite parts of this fantasy season, of this fantasy football channel that I have here, is the Discord. So thank you guys again for being in it, for being active, and for helping out. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.